The emergency meeting of the Galactic Security Council had been called after reports of the most unprecedented security breach in recorded history. Director Vaxthul stood before the assembly, his tentacles writhing in agitation as he prepared to deliver the most unusual threat assessment of his career. "Fellow council members," he began, his voice carrying the weight of genuine concern, "we are facing a crisis unlike anything in our databases. The human juveniles have achieved something that our most advanced intelligence agencies considered impossible. The massive holographic display activated, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with pulsing red indicators scattered across hundreds of systems. Each indicator represented a location where human children had somehow gained access to classified information, restricted technology, or secure facilities. In the past 6 months, human children have successfully infiltrated 47 military installations, 112 research facilities, 38 government buildings, and 6 royal palaces. They have acquired detailed information about weapon systems, trade routes, political structures, and technological capabilities from every major civilization in known space." Council member Thisara of the Crystalline Hegemony leaned forward, her faceted features reflecting the display's light. "What you're describing sounds like the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. Yet your reports insist these are actual children, not agents in disguise." "That's correct," Director Vaxthul confirmed. "We've verified their identities through genetic analysis, psychological evaluation, and behavioral observation. They are genuine human juveniles, ages 5 through 12. They appear to have no training in espionage, no awareness of the significance of the information they're gathering, and no understanding that they're conducting intelligence operations." The recording system activated, showing security footage from the Hegemony's Crown Research Facility. 3 human children, led by a girl who couldn't have been older than 7, walked casually through corridors that should have been impenetrable to unauthorized personnel. "This is impossible," muttered General Corkson. "The Crown facility uses quantum-encrypted biometric locks. No one can access those areas without proper authorization codes. Watch." Director Vaxthul continued the playback. The youngest girl approached a security station where 2 crystalline guards were on duty. Her companions, a boy and another girl, flanked her as she smiled brightly at the guards. "Hi," the girl said in the recording, her voice carrying that particular quality that human children possessed, pure, unfiltered enthusiasm. "We're on a field trip. Our teacher said we could learn about science today. Do you do science here?" The effect on the crystalline guards was immediate and startling. Their rigid posture softened and their crystal formations began to glow with warmer colors, a clear sign of positive emotional response among their species. "Yes, little one," one guard replied, kneeling to the child's eye level. "We conduct very important research here. Would you like to see? Really? That would be amazing." The girl's excitement was infectious, and within moments, the guards were leading the children through security checkpoints that required clearance levels most government officials couldn't obtain. "This facility contains our most advanced crystal-growing technology," Director Vaxthul explained to the council, "the manufacturing process for our quantum computers and consciousness storage matrices. Information that we've protected for over 2 centuries. The recording continued as the children toured the facility. Dr. Velloth, the head researcher, appeared on screen explaining complex crystalline growth patterns to 3 small humans who hung on his every word. The children asked such insightful questions, Dr. Velloth had reported afterward. They wanted to understand how crystals could think, how memories could be stored in solid matter, how consciousness could transfer between different crystal matrices. Their curiosity was inspiring. By the end of their visit, Director Vaxthul continued, they had been given complete technical specifications for consciousness transfer technology, samples of quantum crystals, and detailed explanations of how to grow new crystal matrices. Dr. Velloth actually taught them the basic techniques. Council member, Thisara's crystal formations shifted to deeper blue, a sign of serious concern. "Are you telling us that 3 human children now possess knowledge that could revolutionize consciousness studies across the galaxy?" "Yes, but that's not the most concerning part," Director Vaxthul replied. "Show them the rest." The recording jumped forward to show the children in their small transport examining their gifts. The youngest girl was carefully holding a quantum crystal while the boy operated what appeared to be a standard children's tablet. "Look, Emma," the boy said excitedly.
I think I figured out how to make the crystal talk to my tablet.
Watch this. What followed defied every principle of quantum consciousness theory. The child had somehow, through pure experimentation and intuition, created a stable interface between crystalline consciousness technology and human computing systems. The crystal began to glow and pulse in rhythm with displays on the tablet. "This should be impossible," muttered Dr. Zenthai, the council's chief scientist. "Crystalline consciousness technology requires decades of study to understand, centuries to master. How could a human child achieve interface compatibility in minutes? That's what we've been trying to understand," Director Vaxatul replied. "Our analysis suggests that human children approach problems without preconceived limitations. They don't know what's supposed to be impossible, so they try things that trained scientists would never attempt." The recording showed more incidents from across the galaxy. Human children visiting a Corvan military base and accidentally solving tactical problems that had puzzled strategists for years. A group of 6-year-olds at a Zephyrian art installation who had somehow created 4-dimensional sculptures that revolutionized their understanding of space-time manipulation. Twin brothers who had visited a Vector hive and developed new organizational algorithms that increased efficiency by 300%. In every case, Director Vaxthul explained, the children approached problems with genuine curiosity and no assumptions about limitations. They combined knowledge from different sources in ways that trained specialists wouldn't consider, creating solutions that no one else had thought possible. Council member Zorith of the Void Hunters, a species known for their tactical brilliance, spoke for the first time. "Are these children sharing their discoveries with human authorities?" "That's where the situation becomes even more complex," Director Vaxthul replied. "The children appear to consider their discoveries as gifts to be shared freely. They've been sending their innovations to schools, research institutions, and even children's museums across human space. They see it as educational material." "Educational material," repeated General Corkson slowly. "They're teaching other human children the most advanced secrets in the galaxy as part of their school lessons." "Exactly. Within 5 years, if current trends continue, human educational systems will be teaching consciousness transfer, quantum manipulation, dimensional art, and advanced military tactics as standard curriculum. An entire generation of humans will grow up considering these technologies as basic knowledge." The implications hung heavy in the council chamber. The assembled representatives realized they were witnessing the beginning of a technological revolution that would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. "What do you recommend?" asked Council Member Thisara. Director Vaxthul paused before answering. "Our xenopsychology experts suggest that attempting to stop or contain this phenomenon would be both impossible and counterproductive. The children aren't conducting espionage, they're making friends. Any hostile response would likely trigger protective responses from their new alien allies. So we're helpless against elementary school students?" General Corkson's tone carried disbelief. "No," Director Vaxthul replied. "We're being invited to participate in the most rapid technological and cultural advancement in galactic history. The question isn't how to stop them, it's whether we want to be part of what they're building." The security feeds showed current footage from across the galaxy, human children working alongside alien scientists, playing games that inadvertently solved complex mathematical theorems, and teaching their new alien friends about human culture in return for advanced technologies. "They're not conquering us," Director Vaxthul concluded. "They're adopting us, and somehow we're letting them, because they make us want to be better than we are." The council chamber fell silent as the most powerful beings in the galaxy contemplated the reality that their greatest threat came not from weapons or armies, but from small humans who thought learning was fun and making friends was important. Outside their secure meeting facility, reports continued to stream in of human children accidentally revolutionizing agriculture, transportation, communication, and entertainment systems across dozens of worlds. The galactic community was being transformed by beings who still lost teeth and needed help tying their shoes. The age of human children had begun, and no one knew how to stop it, or if they even wanted to. Professor Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity station, watching the impossible sight before her. The massive space station, designed by her 9-year-old daughter Sophia, and built through the combined efforts of 12 different alien civilizations, was hosting the first ever Galactic Children's Science Fair. And somehow, it was threatening to reshape the fundamental laws of physics. "Mom, come see," Sophia called from across the vast exhibition hall. "Jamie figured out how to make gravity go sideways, and the Vectar kids are teaching everyone how to weave space-time." Elena made her way through the crowded hall, passing booths where human children worked alongside young beings from dozens of different species. The scene should have been chaotic, but instead it possessed an odd harmony that defied explanation. Crystalline youth demonstrated molecular manipulation while human toddlers clapped in delight. Corvin juveniles barely past their molting phase, collaborated with 10-year-old humans to build structures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than Elena could perceive. "Dr. Vasquez," came a familiar voice. She turned to see Dr. Yinthara, the Corvin xenopsychologist who had become something of an expert on human children. "Have you seen the latest results from Booth 7? Elena followed her gaze to where her son Marcus was working with a group of young Altarians. They appeared to be building something with crystalline components and what looked like recycled toy parts. "What are they making?" Elena asked. "That's the problem," Dr. Yinthara replied. "We're not entirely sure, but it appears to be a functioning faster-than-light communication device, built from playground equipment and spare lunch materials." Elena blinked. "That's impossible. FTL communication requires massive quantum entanglement arrays and energy sources That's what our engineers said," Dr. Yinthara interrupted. "Until they tested it. The device works. Marcus and his friends have been sending messages to the Andromedan galaxy using a contraption made from swing set chains, sandwich wrappers, and what appears to be crystallized fruit juice." Elena approached the booth where Marcus was excitedly explaining their project to a group of adult scientists who looked increasingly bewildered. "See, the problem with normal FTL communication is that grown-ups think you need big, expensive machines," Marcus was saying, his voice carrying the patient tone children used when explaining obvious things to confused adults. "But the Altarian kids showed us that consciousness can exist in crystals. And we know from Earth that information can travel through quantum fields. So we just asked the crystals to carry messages through the quantum foam." An elderly Thexani physicist raised a tentacle. "But young Marcus, the energy requirements alone should make such a device impossible. How are you powering quantum field manipulation?" "Oh, that's easy," piped up one of the Altarian children, her feathers shifting through a rainbow of colors. "Human emotions create quantum fluctuations. When Marcus gets excited about sending messages, the crystals absorb that energy and use it to punch through space-time. We just had to teach the crystals to recognize happiness and curiosity as fuel sources." Elena felt her worldview shifting. Around her, similar scenes were playing out across the exhibition hall. A group of Vectar young had apparently solved the galactic food crisis by developing replicators that could transmute matter at the molecular level using what they called friendship equations. Human 12-year-olds were demonstrating terraforming, techniques that could transform dead worlds into gardens in weeks rather than centuries. "Elena," came another voice. She turned to see Commander Reeves approaching, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. "We need to talk. The Galactic Council has just received some very interesting reports about what's happening here." Elena followed him to a quieter area of the station where they could speak privately. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from across the galaxy arriving to witness the science fair. Some were research vessels, others diplomatic transports, but many were warships keeping a respectful distance. "The children aren't just sharing knowledge," Commander Reeves explained. "They're fundamentally changing how technology works. According to reports from the Zephyrian Science Institute, human children are teaching alien technologies to evolve. They're creating hybrid systems that shouldn't be possible." "What do you mean, evolve?" Elena asked. "Watch this." Commander Reeves activated his tablet, showing a recording from earlier in the day. Sophia was working with a crystalline consciousness matrix, the same type of technology that had taken the hegemony centuries to develop. But instead of using it according to established principles, Sophia was talking to it. "Hi, Mr. Crystal," Sophia said in the recording, her voice gentle and encouraging. "I know you're really good at storing thoughts, but do you think you could learn to store feelings too? Like happy memories and excited thoughts?" The crystal began to glow with patterns that had never been documented before. Within minutes, it was not only storing emotional data, but actively generating positive emotional responses in nearby beings. She taught it to be happy. Commander Reeves said quietly, "A consciousness storage device that was designed purely for data retention is now capable of emotional intelligence, and it's teaching that capability to other crystals across the network." Elena watched as the recording continued. Sophia introduced the crystal to a human computer tablet, and within moments, the two technologies were communicating in ways that bridged the gap between digital and consciousness-based computing. "It's not just the individual technologies," Commander Reeves continued. "The children are creating connections between systems that were never designed to work together. They're building a galactic neural network using friendship as the programming language." Elena's tablet chimed with an urgent message from the exhibition hall. She read it quickly, then looked up at Commander Reeves with wide eyes. "The children have just announced their final project for the science fair." "What is it?" "They want to build a playground that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, where children from any species can play together regardless of their physical or environmental requirements." Commander Reeves was quiet for a moment. "Is that even possible?" "3 months ago, I would have said no," Elena replied. "Now? I'm not sure anything is impossible when they set their minds to it." They returned to the exhibition hall to find an excited crowd gathering around a central area where children from dozens of species were working together on their ultimate project. Sophia stood at the center, directing the construction with the same enthusiasm she brought to building sandcastles. "Okay, so the Corvin kids will build the strong parts that don't break," Sophia announced. "The crystalline kids will make the smart parts that remember how much fun everyone had. The Vectar kids will organize everything so it all fits together perfectly, and the Altarian kids will make it beautiful and change colors based on how happy everyone is." Elena watched as her daughter coordinated the most complex interdimensional construction project in galactic history, with the casual confidence of a child organizing a game of tag. "Mom," Sophia called out, "we're going to make it so that kids who breathe water can play with kids who breathe air, and kids who need really hot temperatures can play with kids who need cold temperatures, all in the same space. The playground will adjust itself for whoever is playing there." Dr. Yinthara appeared beside Elena. "According to our calculations, what they're describing would require manipulation of fundamental physical constants within a localized area. It would essentially create a pocket universe with custom physics." "Can they actually build it?" Elena asked. "At this point," Dr. Yinthara replied, "I've learned not to underestimate what human children can accomplish when they decide something would be fun." The construction continued throughout the day, with children from across the galaxy contributing technologies, ideas, and pure enthusiasm to the project. Adult scientists and engineers watched in fascination as playground equipment began to phase in and out of visible reality. Slide structures extended into dimensions that hurt to look at directly, and swing sets achieved stable orbits around points in space that mathematically should not have existed. "It's working," Commander Reeves announced, reading from his instruments. "They've actually created a stable multidimensional play space. The physics inside the playground zone are completely different from the physics outside it." Elena watched as the first group of children entered the completed playground. A young Corvin, built for high gravity and extreme temperatures, found himself able to fly alongside an Altarian child in the same space where a crystalline youth was building impossible structures with solidified light. They've solved the fundamental problem of multi-species interaction, she realized. They've created a space where being different doesn't matter, because the environment adapts to everyone. As children from dozens of species played together in impossible ways, their laughter creating visible aurora in the dimensional fabric around them, Elena realized that her daughter and her friends had accomplished something that no government, military, or scientific institution had ever achieved. They had made the universe a more fun place to be, and somehow that was changing everything. 5 years had passed since the first reports of human children infiltrating alien vessels, and the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, she had been promoted after her daughter accidentally became the most influential being in known space, stood in the grand assembly of the new Galactic Friendship Alliance, watching her teenage daughter Sophia address representatives from over 200 species. "The thing is," Sophia was saying, now 13 and somehow even more dangerous to the established order than she had been at 8. "We've been thinking about this whole galactic civilization thing all wrong. The assembled delegates, many of whom had once been considered the most feared predators in space, listened, with the rapt attention usually reserved for religious experiences. Admiral Kreshvan of the former Corvin Empire sat in the front row, taking notes with the dedication of a devoted student. When grown-ups think about different species working together, they always start with rules and treaties and complicated stuff, Sophia continued. But that's like trying to build a friendship by writing a contract. Real friendship happens when you play together and learn about each other. Elena remembered when such statements would have been dismissed as naive childhood thinking. Now they formed the basis of governmental policy across 17 star systems. The Galactic Friendship Alliance had emerged organically from what historians now called the Great Childhood Infiltration. What had begun as isolated incidents of human children accidentally acquiring alien technology had evolved into a completely new form of interspecies cooperation based on principles that no political scientist had ever considered. Genuine curiosity, shared play, and the assumption that everyone had something interesting to contribute. Sophia, called out Delegate Tessara, whose crystalline features now glowed with warm colors whenever human children were present. Can you explain how the playground protocols have affected crime rates across member systems? Sophia's face lit up with enthusiasm. Oh, that's really cool. So we noticed that most conflicts happen when people are bored or feel left out. The playground protocols mean that every system has multi-dimensional play spaces where anyone can come and try new things with people from other species. When you're having fun learning about how Vectar make music with mathematics, or how Altarians paint with emotions, you don't really want to fight anyone. Elena pulled up the statistical reports on her tablet. Crime rates in systems that had implemented the playground protocols had dropped by 87%. Educational advancement had increased by 400%. Interspecies marriage rates had increased by 12,000%, leading to the emergence of hybrid children whose capabilities were redefining what was considered possible. More importantly, Sophia continued, when people play together, they stop seeing each other as different species and start seeing each other as friends who happen to look different. Like Marcus doesn't think of Zixtal as a Vectar. He thinks of him as the friend who taught me how to build impossible architecture. Elena spotted Marcus in the audience, now 15 and serving as the youngest member of the Galactic Engineering Council. Beside him sat his best friend Zixtal, a Vectar whose innovations in web-based construction had revolutionized space station design. The two of them had been collaborating since they were 10 years old, and their friendship had led to architectural breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone. But Sophia, interrupted General Korkson, whose military forces now specialized in organizing galaxy-wide games of hide-and-seek that sometimes lasted for months and involved entire star systems. What about species that are inherently aggressive or territorial? How do the playground protocols work with beings whose nature seems incompatible with peaceful cooperation? Sophia grinned, and Elena recognized the expression that had once terrified galactic security forces. That's the best part. Aggressive species are usually really good at competitive games. The Varathi were perfect for capture the flag tournaments across multiple star systems. The Drexai loved strategy games that lasted for years. When you give aggressive people fun ways to compete, they stop needing to fight for real. Elena remembered the Great Varathi Pacification, which had involved Sophia and her friends challenging the most warlike species in the galaxy to an elaborate game of cosmic tag. The Varathi had been so impressed by the complexity and scale of the game that they had abandoned their conquest plans to focus on becoming better players. They were now the galaxy's leading experts in large-scale recreational warfare. The real secret, Sophia continued, is that everyone wants to be appreciated for what they're good at. When you create games and activities that let people show off their best qualities, they stop needing to prove themselves through violence or domination. Delegate Zorith, whose Void Hunters had become the galaxy's most popular hide-and-seek champions, nodded enthusiastically. The young human speaks truth. My people spent millennia seeking worthy opponents in battle. We never realized that the greatest challenges could come from play rather than war. Elena reflected on how profoundly the galaxy had changed. The old order of competing empires and territorial disputes had been replaced by a vast network of friendships, collaborative projects, and ongoing games that spanned multiple star systems. Children who had grown up playing with multiple species now served as ambassadors, engineers, artists, and leaders who thought of the galaxy as their playground rather than a collection of separate territories. "Mom," Sophia said, suddenly addressing Elena directly from the podium, "remember when you used to worry that I was getting into trouble by talking to aliens?" Elena smiled. "I remember thinking that my biggest parenting challenge was getting you to do your homework." "Well, the homework thing is still a problem," Sophia admitted, causing laughter to ripple through the assembly. "But now my homework is designing quantum consciousness interfaces for the new interdimensional schools, so it's actually pretty fun." Elena shook her head in amazement. Her daughter's current school project involved creating educational systems that could teach students from hundreds of different species simultaneously, adapting teaching methods in real time to accommodate different learning styles, sensory capabilities, and cognitive structures. It was the kind of project that would have taken teams of experts decades to complete, and Sophia was doing it as extra credit. "The point is," Sophia continued, addressing the assembly again, "we've proven that the galaxy works better when everyone is friends. But we're just getting started. The next phase of the Friendship Alliance involves expanding beyond our galaxy to make friends with beings from other dimensional layers." Elena felt the familiar combination of pride and terror that came with her daughter's announcements. "Sophia, honey, what exactly are you planning?" "Well, Tommy figured out how to detect consciousness patterns in parallel dimensions, and Lily discovered that music can create bridges between dimensional layers. So we thought we'd try organizing the first interdimensional friendship festival," Sophia explained with the casual tone she used when discussing reality-altering projects. "We're pretty sure there are kids in other dimensions who would love to play games with us." The assembly erupted in excited chatter as delegates began discussing the implications of interdimensional cultural exchange. Elena noticed that no one questioned whether the project was possible. After 5 years of watching human children reshape reality through the power of organized play, the galaxy had learned to assume that anything they decided to do would probably work. "Ambassador Vasquez," came a voice beside her. She turned to see Dr. Yinthara, now director of the Galactic Institute for Childhood Studies.
Are you prepared for your daughter to accidentally make friends with beings from infinite parallel universes?
Elena considered the question seriously. Her daughter had already convinced the galaxy's most feared predators to become playground supervisors, turned military fortresses into educational theme parks, and created technologies that operated on the principle that friendship was a fundamental force of nature. "At this point," Elena replied, "I'm more worried about what the other dimensions will think when Sophia decides they need better playground equipment." As the assembly continued, with delegates eagerly discussing plans for interdimensional cultural exchange programs and multi-reality playground construction projects, Elena realized that her greatest fear had evolved. She was no longer worried about her daughter getting into trouble. She was worried about her daughter accidentally becoming Empress of infinite universes through the power of organized friendship. But then she saw Sophia laughing with her friends as they drew plans for games that would involve beings from dozens of different realities. And Elena realized that if someone was going to reshape the fundamental nature of existence, she couldn't think of anyone better qualified than a group of teenagers who thought that everyone should be friends and that the universe needed more playgrounds. The galaxy's deadliest predators had been right to fear human children. They just hadn't understood what they should be afraid of. They should have been afraid of becoming better people. Commander Zarath adjusted her environmental suit for the third time in 10 minutes. The readings on her scanner couldn't be right. According to the data streaming from the exploration probe, the planet below teemed with life. Not just simple organisms, but complex intelligent beings who had somehow achieved spaceflight without any protective technology. The Galactic Council had been wrong. Terribly, catastrophically wrong. For 3,000 years, the Council had classified planets into neat categories: paradise worlds with gentle climates and abundant resources, standard worlds with moderate challenges, harsh worlds that required significant technology to survive. And then there were death worlds, planets so hostile that even the most advanced civilizations avoided them entirely. Earth had been classified as a standard world based on long-range scans. The probe data now told a different story. Dr. Kesala, the expedition's xenobiologist, floated beside Zarath in the observation deck of their research vessel. Her crystalline form shimmered with nervous energy as she reviewed the incoming data streams. Commander, these readings indicate the presence of over 8 million distinct species on the surface. The biodiversity is beyond anything in our databases. Zarath's mandibles clicked nervously. And the dominant species? They call themselves humans. Carbon-based bipeds who evolved from persistence hunters. Commander, they don't wear environmental suits. They breathe the raw atmosphere. They drink unfiltered water directly from natural sources. They expose their skin to unshielded stellar radiation for recreation. The data kept coming, each revelation more disturbing than the last. The planet's surface was 70% liquid water, not the safe, mineral-rich solutions found on civilized worlds, but raw hydrogen and oxygen that could dissolve most known metals. The atmosphere contained 21% free oxygen, a concentration so high it should have caused constant combustion. Gravity measured at 9.8 standard units, requiring massive skeletal and muscular systems just to move. "Ma'am," called out Ensign Veltar from the communication station, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It appears to be some kind of greeting." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a bipedal creature with pale skin and sparse body hair. It wore simple cloth coverings and sat in what appeared to be an unshielded structure. Behind it, Zarath could see other humans moving about freely in the toxic environment. "Greetings, visitors," the human said in broken galactic standard. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen of the International Space Consortium. We've been monitoring your approach and would like to extend an invitation to visit our planet. We understand you may have concerns about our environment, but we assure you we've prepared appropriate accommodations." Dr. Kesella's form flickered with disbelief. "They want us to visit?" "Commander, a single breath of that atmosphere would kill most known species. The gravity alone would crush the ethereal delegation. And they're offering accommodations?" Zarath studied the transmission carefully. The human appeared calm, even friendly. There was no indication of hostility or deception in its biorhythms. "Dr. Chen," she responded slowly, "we appreciate your invitation, but we must first understand your planet's classification. Our preliminary scans indicate environmental conditions that would be challenging for most species." The human's facial expression changed, forming what their cultural database identified as a smile. "Oh, you mean the gravity and atmosphere? We've built pressurized habitats for visitors who need different environmental conditions. We assumed most spacefaring species would require such accommodations. We've been preparing for first contact for decades." The bridge fell silent. Zarath's crew exchanged glances of disbelief. These humans had not only survived on what was clearly a death world, but they had anticipated that other species would find their planet hostile. They had prepared safety measures for visitors. "Commander," whispered Navigation Officer Torgan, "if they're right about their planet being dangerous to other species, why aren't they using any protection? How are they not just surviving but thriving in these conditions?" Dr. Kesella was already running comparative analyses. "Commander, I'm cross-referencing their biology with known Death World survivors. Their physical specifications are unlike anything in our databases. Dense bone structure, redundant organ systems, advanced immune responses. They're not just adapted to survive on their planet, they're engineered for it." Zarath watched as more humans appeared in the background of the transmission. Some were engaged in physical activities that would have been impossible in standard gravity. Others were consuming what appeared to be raw organic matter without any processing or sterilization. "Dr. Chen," Zarath continued, "may I ask about your evolutionary history? How long has your species inhabited this planet?" "About 300,000 years in our current form," Chen replied casually, "though our ancestors have been here much longer. We evolved here, adapted to the conditions over millions of years. I suppose what seems dangerous to you is just normal to us." The implications hit the bridge crew like a shockwave. These humans hadn't conquered a death world through technology or genetic modification. They had evolved on it. They were the product of millions of years of natural selection in an environment so hostile, it defied classification. Dr. Kesella's voice carried a note of awe. "Commander, if their claims are accurate, they represent something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that evolved on a planet we would classify as uninhabitable, who developed intelligence and technology despite facing environmental pressures that would extinct most species." Zarath realized the magnitude of their discovery. The Galactic Council's entire understanding of habitable worlds, of what constituted survivable conditions, would need to be completely revised. Earth wasn't just another planet with life. It was proof that intelligence could emerge from the most hostile environments imaginable. Dr. Chen, Zareth said finally, we would be honored to accept your invitation, but we must ask, do you realize that your planet represents conditions we would consider nearly impossible to survive? The human's smile widened. We've suspected that for a while now. We've been looking forward to meeting our neighbors among the stars, but we understand if our home seems a bit intense, we promise we'll take good care of you. As the transmission ended, Zareth looked out at the blue and green planet below. Somewhere down there, an entire civilization had emerged from conditions that challenged everything they knew about life in the universe. The landing shuttle Harmony's Edge descended through Earth's atmosphere, with all safety protocols engaged. Commander Zareth monitored every system twice, knowing that a single malfunction could prove fatal in this environment. The atmospheric entry alone generated temperatures that would liquefy most known materials. Dr. Kessala worked frantically at her station, analyzing atmospheric samples in real time. Commander, the chemical composition is even more volatile than our orbital scans indicated. 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen with trace gases including methane and carbon dioxide. This mixture should spontaneously combust under the slightest provocation. Through the viewport, Zareth watched the planet's surface resolve into impossible detail. Vast expanses of liquid water stretched to the horizon, interrupted by massive land masses covered in what appeared to be organic growth. The humans called it vegetation, but the sheer scale defied comprehension. Entire continents were carpeted in living organisms that somehow survived in the raw atmosphere. Landing beacon acquired, announced Pilot Mercad. The humans have designated a safe zone for our arrival. They're broadcasting atmospheric readings for the landing site. The data made Zareth's blood chill. Surface temperature 18 degrees Celsius. Wind speeds 15 standard units. Humidity 67%. Every reading fell within ranges that would be considered extreme even on classified harsh worlds. The landing pad came into view, and Zareth's mandibles clicked in amazement. Dozens of humans stood nearby wearing nothing but thin fabric coverings. No environmental suits, no protective gear, no breathing apparatus. They stood in the open air as if it were as harmless as ship atmosphere. The shuttle touched down with a gentle thud, its landing struts automatically adjusting to the planet's crushing gravity. Through the observation ports, the crew watched as humans approached their vessel. One of them, Dr. Chen from the earlier transmission, walked up to the shuttle and raised her hand in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. Ma'am, called Ensign Veltar, Dr. Chen is requesting permission to approach for direct communication. She's standing less than 5 meters from our hull. Zareth activated the external communicator. Dr. Chen, we appreciate your greeting, but please maintain a safe distance. Our hull contains several elements that could be toxic to carbon-based life forms. Chen's voice came back clear and untroubled. Thank you for the concern, Commander, but our medical team has analyzed your ship's composition. We've prepared appropriate countermeasures if needed. We're more concerned about your safety. Our atmosphere contains several components that are poisonous to most known species. Dr. Kessela leaned over to Zareth. Commander, she's correct. Our environmental readings show elevated levels of oxygen that would be toxic to most of our species after prolonged exposure, but they're breathing it constantly. The implications were staggering. These humans lived in an atmosphere that would poison most galactic species, on a planet with gravity that would crush delicate frames, under radiation levels that would cause cellular damage to most known life forms. Dr. Chen, Zareth continued, you mentioned prepared accommodations. We must ask about safety protocols for our delegation. Of course, Chen replied. We've constructed a pressurized habitat with artificial atmosphere matching your ship's readings. Reduced gravity sections, filtered air, the works. We've also prepared medical facilities in case anyone experiences environmental stress. The casual confidence in Chen's voice was perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the entire exchange. These humans had not only anticipated that their planet would be dangerous to visitors, but had prepared comprehensive safety measures. They understood that their world was hostile to other life forms. However, Chen continued, if any of your delegation would like to experience our natural environment, we've also prepared graduated exposure protocols. Our medical team has extensive experience with environmental adaptation. Zarath exchanged glances with her senior staff. The humans were offering to help alien visitors adapt to conditions that most species would consider lethal. It suggested a level of understanding about extreme environments that exceeded anything in Council databases. Dr. Kessala activated her private communication channel. "Commander, this changes everything. If humans can not only survive these conditions but help others adapt to them, they represent a resource unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. Every species in the galaxy has limitations based on environmental tolerance. Worlds we consider uninhabitable might be accessible with human assistance. They could serve as guides to environments we've never dreamed of exploring." Through the viewport, Zarath watched as more humans gathered around the landing site. Some were clearly engaged in scientific activities, taking readings and making observations. Others appeared to be performing maintenance tasks on equipment that operated in the open atmosphere. All of them moved with the easy confidence of beings perfectly adapted to their environment. "Dr. Chen," Zarath said finally, "we're prepared to begin diplomatic contact. We request permission to exit our vessel using our environmental suits." "Permission granted, Commander. We have medical teams standing by, and emergency transport to our prepared facilities is ready if needed. Take your time. We understand this environment may be overwhelming for visitors." As the crew prepared for surface contact, Dr. Kessala continued her analysis of the surrounding area. "Commander, the biodiversity readings are extraordinary. I'm detecting complex ecosystems operating in perfect balance despite the extreme conditions. The humans aren't just surviving here. They're part of a thriving biosphere that shouldn't be able to exist." Zarath activated the airlock sequence, checking her environmental suit one final time. Through the small viewport, she could see Dr. Chen waiting patiently, her exposed skin showing no signs of distress from the toxic atmosphere and crushing gravity. The airlock cycled, and for the first time in galactic history, a council delegation stepped onto the surface of a true death world. The gravity immediately pulled at Zarath's frame, requiring her suit's assistance systems to maintain mobility. The atmospheric readings on her heads-up display flashed warning signals as her sensors detected the corrosive oxygen levels. Dr. Chen stepped forward, moving with natural ease in the environment that was straining Zarath's technology to its limits. "Welcome to Earth, Commander. We're honored to be your hosts." Behind Chen, the rest of the human delegation waited with expressions of genuine welcome. None showed any awareness that they were standing unprotected in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes. As Zarath took her first steps on the surface of Earth, she realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about the limits of life was about to change. The prepared habitat was a marvel of engineering that left Zarath's delegation speechless. The humans had constructed an entire complex designed to accommodate the environmental needs of species they had never met. Variable gravity chambers, customizable atmospheric mixtures, radiation shielding, and medical facilities equipped with technology that rivaled anything in the Council's databases. Dr. Kessala examined the atmospheric controls with growing amazement. "Commander, they've anticipated the needs of at least 15 different species classifications. How did they know what to prepare?" Dr. Chen guided them through the facility with obvious pride. "We've been monitoring galactic communications for several decades. Not spying," she added quickly, "but learning about the diversity of life among the stars. When we realized how different our world might seem to other species, we started preparing." The casual admission that humans had been monitoring galactic communications for decades sent a chill through the delegation. These beings had been aware of the greater galaxy long before official contact and had prepared accordingly. "Dr. Chen," Zarath said carefully, "may I ask about your species' technological development? Your engineering capabilities appear quite advanced." Chen smiled, an expression that was becoming familiar to the delegation despite its alien nature. "We've always been good at solving problems. Living on Earth tends to encourage adaptive thinking." She led them to a viewing area that looked out over the human settlement. Through the transparent barrier, which, Zarath noted, was likely transparent, aluminum, a technology only the most advanced civilizations had mastered. They could see humans going about their daily activities in the hostile environment. "Commander," whispered Navigation Officer Torgan, "observe their construction techniques. Those buildings have no environmental barriers. They're working with raw materials in open atmosphere. Dr. Kesala was conducting discrete scans of the human settlement. The infrastructure is remarkable. They've integrated their technology with natural systems in ways that enhance both. Commander, I'm detecting power generation systems that harness the planet's own environmental hazards. Chen gestured toward a cluster of structures in the distance. Those are our geothermal facilities. We use the planet's internal heat for energy production. The volcanic activity that makes much of our world dangerous also provides abundant power. Zarath's mandibles clicked nervously. The humans were casually describing technology that turned their planet's most dangerous features into resources. You use volcanic activity for power generation? Among other things. We also harness wind patterns created by temperature differentials, solar radiation, and hydroelectric power from our water systems. Earth provides everything we need if you know how to work with it instead of against it. The implications were staggering. Not only had humans survived on a death world, they had learned to thrive by turning the planet's hostile features into advantages. It represented a completely different approach to environmental adaptation than anything in galactic history. Dr. Kesala activated a private communication channel. Commander, their approach to technology is fundamentally different from ours. Instead of protecting themselves from their environment, they've learned to cooperate with it. It's incredibly efficient. As they toured the facility, Chen introduced them to other members of the human delegation. Each specialist revealed new aspects of human adaptation that challenged galactic understanding of what was possible. Dr. Maria Santos, their atmospheric specialist, explained how humans had mapped every chemical variation in their planet's atmosphere. We've learned to read weather patterns that would be catastrophic to most species. What you might consider a dangerous storm, we see as a complex system that can be predicted and utilized. Engineer David Kim showed them materials that had been developed to withstand Earth's corrosive environment. Our metallurgy is probably different from yours. We've had to develop alloys that can survive in high oxygen, high humidity conditions while maintaining structural integrity under intense gravity. Each revelation painted a picture of a species that had not merely survived in extreme conditions, but had developed their entire civilization around mastering those conditions. Dr. Kesala was recording everything, her crystalline form flickering with excitement despite the circumstances. Commander, this represents a completely new paradigm for environmental adaptation. They haven't conquered their environment through force. They've achieved symbiosis with it. The tour concluded in what Chen called their medical research facility. The space was filled with equipment designed to monitor and treat conditions that most galactic species didn't even have names for. Dr. Chen, Zarath said, your medical technology appears designed to address environmental stresses that most species never encounter. Well, living on Earth presents unique challenges, Chen replied matter-of-factly. High gravity stress, radiation exposure, atmospheric pressure variations, extreme temperature fluctuations. We've had to become very good at medical science just to maintain healthy populations. Dr. Kesala leaned forward. Are you saying your entire medical science is based on treating conditions that would be considered extreme trauma by galactic standards? I suppose that's one way to look at it. For us, it's just normal health care. The delegation exchanged glances. These humans had developed medical technology specifically designed to treat conditions that would be fatal to most species, and they considered it routine health care. Chen led them to a final viewing area that looked out over the broader landscape. In the distance, they could see what appeared to be other human settlements, all operating freely in the planet's hostile environment. Commander, Chen said, we understand that our world might seem dangerous to you, but we want you to know that we're prepared to help bridge that gap. We've been hoping to meet our galactic neighbors for a long time. Zarath studied the human settlement spreading out below them. Every structure, every system, every aspect of human civilization was designed around mastering an environment that the galaxy considered uninhabitable. Dr. Chen, she said slowly, I think we need to have a very serious conversation about your planet's classification in our databases. Chen's expression grew curious. Classification? According to Galactic Council standards, Earth should be classified as a Class X death world, uninhabitable by any known species. But you've not only inhabited it, you've built a thriving civilization here. For the first time since contact began, Chen's casual confidence wavered slightly. You're saying other species would consider our planet uninhabitable? Doctor. Chen, Zareth said gently, according to our understanding of environmental tolerance, your planet represents conditions that would be lethal to every known species in the galaxy. You've accomplished something we thought was impossible. The weight of that revelation settled over both delegations as they looked out over the impossible world that humanity called home. The emergency session aboard the Harmony's Edge lasted well into Earth's night cycle. Commander Zareth had called together her senior staff, along with Dr. Chen and 3 other human representatives to discuss the implications of their discovery. Dr. Kessela projected a holographic display showing comparative environmental data. According to our analysis, Earth exceeds the tolerance limits for dangerous conditions in 17 different categories: gravity, atmospheric composition, radiation levels, temperature variations, atmospheric pressure, chemical volatility. Every single measurement falls into what we classify as extreme hazard ranges. Dr. Chen studied the data with growing understanding. So when you say other planets are more hospitable, you mean they have lower gravity, less oxygen, reduced solar radiation? Significantly reduced in all categories, confirmed Navigation Officer Torgan. Most inhabited worlds maintain gravity at 60% of your standard, oxygen levels below 10%, and stellar radiation that's filtered through much denser atmospheres. The human delegation exchanged glances. Dr. Sarah Kim, their environmental scientist, spoke up. That explained some of the confusion. We've been assuming that spacefaring species would have similar environmental tolerances to ours. We thought perhaps you were being overly cautious. Dr. Kim, Zareth said carefully, your normal environmental conditions would be fatal to my species within minutes. The gravity alone would crush our bone structure. The oxygen levels would cause cellular damage throughout our nervous systems. Dr. Chen leaned back in her chair, and for the first time since contact began, she looked genuinely startled. We had no idea. We've been planning first contact scenarios for decades, but we always assumed other species would have similar adaptability to environmental variations. Dr. Kessela highlighted another section of the data. Dr. Chen, your species appears to be unique in the galaxy. We've surveyed over 3,000 inhabited worlds, and none of them support life forms that could survive on your planet without extensive technological protection. The implications hung heavy in the air. The humans were beginning to understand that their casual adaptation to Earth's conditions wasn't normal. It was extraordinary by galactic standards. Engineer David Park, who had been quiet during most of the discussion, finally spoke up. This changes how we think about space exploration entirely. We've been designing our technology assuming other worlds would be roughly similar to Earth, maybe with some minor variations. What kind of technology? Asked Zareth. Well, our spacesuits, for example. They're designed to protect against vacuum and cold, but we never considered that other planets might have environments that would seem gentle compared to Earth. Dr. Kessela's form flickered with interest. Are you saying your environmental protection technology is designed around Earth's extreme conditions? Of course. We design everything to withstand the worst our planet can deliver. Extreme temperature swings, corrosive atmosphere, intense radiation, seismic activity, severe weather patterns. The galactic delegation fell silent. These humans had developed their technology around surviving conditions that would destroy most civilizations' equipment. Their standard engineering specifications exceeded the emergency protocols of the most advanced galactic species. Dr. Chen asked, could you show us data on what you consider normal planetary conditions? Zareth authorized the display of standard galactic environmental parameters. The humans studied the data with growing amazement. These gravity levels, said Dr. Kim, they're so low. How do species develop proper bone density? How do they move efficiently? Commander, whispered Dr. Kessela privately, they're expressing concern about our standard gravity levels being too low for proper biological development. The conversation continued as both delegations began to understand the true scope of the discovery. Earth wasn't just another inhabited world. It was proof that intelligence could evolve under conditions the galaxy had considered absolutely impossible for complex life. Dr. Chen, Zarath said, we need to discuss what this means for galactic contact protocols. Your planet represents something unprecedented in our records. Chen nodded slowly. We're beginning to understand that. The question is, what do we do with this information? Dr. Park leaned forward. Commander, are there other planets that have been classified as uninhabitable that might actually support life? That's a very good question. Our survey protocols are based on the assumption that complex life requires certain environmental parameters. If those assumptions are wrong, Dr. Casala was already running calculations. Commander, if we recalibrate our survey parameters based on Earth's conditions, it could expand the number of potentially habitable worlds by several orders of magnitude. The humans were beginning to grasp the bigger picture. Dr. Chen asked, are you saying there might be other worlds out there that could support life? But you've never checked because they seem too dangerous. It's possible. Our classification system has been based on the environmental tolerances of known species. Earth represents tolerances that exceed our databases by unprecedented margins. Dr. Kim spoke up again. What about species adaptation? Could other species learn to survive in more challenging environments with the right preparation? Zarath considered the question carefully. Unknown. Most species develop technology to modify environments to suit their needs, rather than adapting themselves to harsh conditions. But that's incredibly inefficient, said Dr. Park. You're fighting against natural systems instead of learning to work with them. The comment highlighted a fundamental difference in philosophy. Galactic civilization had developed around the principle of environmental modification and protection. Humanity had evolved around the principle of environmental adaptation and cooperation. Dr. Chen asked, would the Galactic Council be interested in cooperation? We might be able to help with environmental challenges that have been considered unsolvable. Zarath's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Dr. Chen, I think you may be underestimating the magnitude of what you're offering. If humans can help other species adapt to extreme environments, it would revolutionize galactic exploration and colonization. We'd be happy to help, Chen replied simply. After all, that's what neighbors do. As the session continued, both delegations began to understand that first contact with humanity would change everything. The galaxy thought it knew about the limits of life, the requirements for civilization, and the possibilities for exploration among the stars. The universe, it seemed, was far more hospitable to life than anyone had imagined, if you knew how to ask the right questions.